That's it. November 17th, 2025. We are in the fourth year, and it's day 267 of the war in Ukraine. Welcome, I greet you, to the Daily Situation Report. Today I welcome all new viewers who are on the channel for the first time. Don't worry, the community here is one of the most fabulous on all of YouTube. I fully support you. Everyone is polite and decent, which you can always see in the comments section. Just a quick note, there were no territorial gains today. No matter which side, fierce fighting continues within the gray zones, but without bringing any clear change to the situation. There are many other interesting reports, so let's take a look at Pokrovsk. As I said, not much has changed here. Monorat, you still know the situation from yesterday. Heavy fighting continues here, as well as here near Pokrovsk, although this could shift a bit further north. So basically into this area here, while the part down here is almost entirely dominated by the Russians. I haven't changed it on the situation map yet, because I'm still missing a lot of geolocations that could clearly prove it. Ukrainians are now sending highly capable, well-known units to the Eastern Front. Among others, the 225th was withdrawn from the region around Sumy. Assault Infantry Regiment. It was relocated near Pokrovsk, Dobropilya, so a bit further north here. You know this unit. Before the Ukrainian invasion of Kursk, they were still a rather little-known unit. Back then, just a battalion that didn't have much to show for itself. Their finest hour came when they crossed the border into the Russian region of Kursk, where they were able to achieve outstanding things, whether in attack or in defense. Shortly afterwards, the General Staff recognized this as well and authorized the battalion leadership to form a regiment and add further reinforcements. So far, nothing bad has been heard about the men and women of the regiment, unlike others, when it comes to their performance and morale. I even know a soldier from the regiment. He gave me the first Ukrainian flag of a unit that served at the front. But it's not just them. The 1st, 17th, and 20th Corps are ready in the same area of operation, among others. The 92nd is also there, and 93 RD Brigade. With the 93rd, it's similar to the 225th Regiment, but by now they're so large that they could actually be a division. They are also considered one of the best units in the entire Ukrainian armed forces. By the way, they are also partly deployed in the neighboring city of Kostiantynivka, which is a bit further to the northeast from here. And from there, they also show us some images of the Russian attempts to liberate the so-called brother nation. The list continues, showing many important and capable units have been relocated. But for what reason? Is it to maintain control at Pokrovsk, to push back the Russians, or to liberate the city again? I don't think any of these questions can be answered yes. It rather seems that they are being used to secure the entire front here in the east and the Dnipropetrovsk region. But they... Neighboring city Kostiantynivka is in. You can also see this in statements like this one from Shtugarov, the first chairman of the Russian Communist Party, who describes himself as a peaceful person. And now, after the statement from Boris Pistorius about a possible Russian attack on NATO in 2029, he said that this shouldn't be taken seriously, because the Russians and the Soviet Union have already conquered Berlin 3 times, and if necessary, they will do it a 4th time. This comes from a man whose country, after 1,363 days, has struggled for weeks and suffered losses just to capture obscure Ukrainian villages. But still, on paper, things are moving forward for the Russians. That's why the motto remains. If the Ukrainians have learned from this situation and can now reinforce the lines enough so that a Russian attack can't be immediately continued, then that's already something to be recognized as positive. Some time ago, there was also a Czech crowdfunding campaign where people wanted to buy Flamingo cruise missiles for the Ukrainian army at a price of, and please don't hold me to the exact number, but estimated at just under $500,000. They were able to finance 2 cruise missiles. They're currently being repainted to resemble the original Flamingo, just with a few more special paint jobs added. Let's see how they'll perform. Russian air defense has performed well so far, and we've already captured at least 3 Flamingo shootdowns or wreckage on camera. They still seem to fly too slow, too high, or are just too big a target. But like everything else, things are constantly being developed further here, as well as on the other side. Russia is using the Shahed Model 101 drone near the front lines in Ukraine for the first time. It carries an 8-9 kilogram warhead, has a range of several hundred kilometers, and uses a 4-element controlled reception pattern antenna for satellite-based communication and navigation. It also has an antenna matrix that blocks global positioning system, jamming attempts much better than earlier Shahed variants. This batch was manufactured in Iran in 2024. There are indications that Russia is now preparing for local production or final assembly. Militarily, this means precise strikes on frontline targets, artillery, radar, and ammo depots. However, in bad weather and under heavy electronic countermeasures that are somewhat better than standard, it could become a problem for the Russians again. Nevertheless, the drone certainly makes up for this with its small size, since a Shahed 136 with its large surface area and slow speed is easier to detect and shoot down than the 101. Hespoda uses this drone too. France and Ukraine have signed a new declaration that will pave the way for Ukraine to purchase around 100 Rafale fighter jets. The document is not an immediate delivery contract, but it sets out the framework conditions, such as the financing model, the phased procurement, training of pilots and ground personnel, as well as industrial cooperation. So it's about spare parts, for example. The Rafale offers multi-role abilities like air superiority, precision strikes, suppression of enemy air defenses, and reconnaissance. It also offers strong survivability and diverse munitions. Strategically, this would speed up building a modern Ukrainian Air Force over the next 10-15 years, alongside the 150 Saab Gripens, and it would reduce dependence on older Soviet models like the old MiGs and Sukhoi aircraft. A somewhat older aircraft already delivered from France, namely the Mirage 2000, is already in operation. And as you can see, it is being used to intercept and destroy Russian cruise missiles over Ukraine. But let's stay with the Air Force for now, just to mention it briefly. We're now moving on to the Russian Air Force. Because at the Russian Air Force Base, Engels, 2 new satellite images show a noticeable concentration of over 130 unidentified trucks right next to the parking areas. Along with that, there's an Antonov 12 transport aircraft. Officially, there's no explanation, but it's plausible that this is logistics for the Tupolev 95 modernized strategic bomber, meaning the supply of munitions and equipment, which suggests upcoming or frequent long-range attacks. This finding fits with the ongoing expansion of the base since March, where additional parking areas and shelters for bombers and fighter jets are being prepared. This suggests more dispersal and fortification to spread out risks. A logistical peak of this size near the bomber lines indicates practices such as refueling, arming, or supplying spare parts. Construction, transport, and training scenarios are also possible, confirmed. But if that's unclear, signs like visible Tupolev, 95 modernized strategic loading, more night takeoffs, odd thermal images at ammo depots, or extra Ilyushin, 76 flights would clarify. Engels' II remains a strong warning that Russia is building up its airstrike capabilities with its strategic bombers. Russia's Urals oil has really crashed. According to Argus via the Blumenberg source, the last shipments that went beyond Novorossiysk were at 36.6%, the lowest level since March 2023. There were similar price drops at the Baltic seaports as well, despite a small rebound on the 14th. In November, Urals is on average about $23.5 below Brent. The reasons are the new United States sanctions against Russian producers, which increase the risk and also thin out the number of buyers. Freight and insurance costs for the so-called shadow fleet are rising. India is buying less, and repeated refinery outages from drone attacks are disrupting logistics. In the end, Moscow's revenue per barrel is shrinking, while war expenses remain high. This increases the pressure on the budget and forces painful cuts, more domestic debt, or even more costly sanctions. And a special thanks goes, as always, to the ALGO crew channel members, and especially to Lieutenant Colonel Reneke. And then, as always, thank you for listening. Please feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and see you in the next situation report.